Hey singers, welcome back to the weekly warm-up. I'm Laura, and today I want to show you these erasable highlighters that might be just the thing that are missing from your singing life. So singers, if you've been around the channel for any length of time, you may already suspect that I'm a bit of a stationery addict. I've shared with you before that I have a favorite pencil, I have all kinds of markers to mark my music, and I even have a dedicated planner where I plot out my practice plan. So anytime I can combine stationery and singing, I'm definitely going to do so. And this summer I found these highlighters. Now these are made by the Pilot Company, they're part of their Frixion line, and the way that they work, they're just like a normal highlighter. I'll show you, they have a chisel tip, and then they have an eraser on the other end. Now, many of you probably are already highlighting your music. Highlighting your music is a great way to follow where your eyes need to go on the page, especially if you switch lines, or maybe if there's a part in a piece where a soloist comes in and you're suddenly reading the third staff instead of the second staff. It can really be helpful to help guide your eyes where they need to go. Unfortunately though, if you sing with an organization where your music is handed out and you have to hand it back in, maybe you've never been able to highlight. Or if you're like me, when you're highlighting, you're prone to making mistakes and accidentally highlighting the wrong line, which is exactly the opposite of what that highlight is meant to do. So as soon as I saw these, I knew that I wanted to pick them up and give them a try. And I'm going to show you over here how they worked. They turned out terrific. They gave a nice dark line and they erased absolutely cleanly. So if you're wondering if they work, then let me tell you, they definitely do. You can stop watching right here. These highlighters are excellent. But I also want to tell you about a little experiment that I did, because when I was reading the comments on these highlighters to see if I should even buy them at all, I read that the ink is thermosensitive. The way that it erases is that the ink is sensitive to temperature. And so many other commenters were noting that you should not leave a notebook where you highlight in the sun or in a warm car because your markings may totally disappear. This got me thinking. I wondered if maybe instead of highlighting and then going through and erasing page by page, would it be possible for me to just put my markings in and then heat up my whole score so that all the markings disappeared and I could hand it in without any work? Well, I decided to give it a try. And I tried it not only with my highlighters, but I also picked up a number of the Frixion ink pens. Now, I took an old score. This is one that I apparently stole from my high school music department many, many years ago. My apologies. And I put in some markings here. So you can see I marked it with my highlighters, and then I put in some random markings using the Frixion highlighter and the Frixion pen. Now what I'm going to try is I'm going to put it in the microwave and see if after 30 seconds of microwaving, if the music sets on fire, and also if the markings disappear. So let me say, as a warning, I do not recommend that you try this. It may turn out to be a terrible idea, but I am curious, so let's go give it a shot. Okay, singers, here I am in the kitchen, dirty dishes and all, and we are going to try microwaving this piece of music. So I'm gonna put it in for 30 seconds and see what happens. Okay, so in 30 seconds, I'm gonna get this out. It is very slightly warm to the touch, and let's find our page. And as you can see, everything is exactly as it was. Highlighting is still bright and markings are still bright. So I'm gonna try this for a minute and let's see what happens. So unfortunately, after a minute, there was really no change again, and the music was starting to feel a little warm. I felt a little concerned that it was gonna set my house on fire. So I decided to try one last thing. And again, let me say, I do not recommend that you try this, but I just wanted to kind of scratch the itch of my curiosity. So I took my music and I have just heated my oven to 200 degrees, kind of the nice lowest temperature, one that you might use for just warming something. And I am going to put the music into the oven for 5 minutes. moment of truth. Let's see. The pages are a little warm. Okay, now I think that this is the page that we had markings on before. And as you can see, all of the markings, you can see a very, very slight amount of markings up there, although I'm not even sure that those are the ones that I just put in. So this appears to have been successful. Wow, okay. If you are still watching, thank you so much for sticking with me through this totally harebrained experiment. The bottom line is it was successful. When I used a combination of the Frixion pen and the Frixion highlighters, and then I used the oven on its lowest setting for 5 minutes, it did remove the markings completely without me having to do any erasing. So I would be very curious to know if this might work in a larger work. So for example, if I was given a score for something larger like an oratorio or a full concert work, if I could use this combination to highlight and mark my whole way through and then just put it into the oven for a few minutes and turn it back in without ever having to use all the elbow grease of erasing. Again though, I don't think it's a great idea. I am definitely going to try it though. So I wish you good luck. I do recommend that you give these highlighters a try if you are looking for something that you can use to guide your eyes and erase. They certainly are a great product on their own. This was not a recommended use for them, but thank you for bearing with me. I know that I was curious and I'm actually pretty thrilled with the results. I hope you'll be back next Thursday, probably for some more sensible advice. But in the meanwhile, thank you for practicing.